Hello everyone, and thanks for joining me for the new moon in Pisces, which is occurring on March 13th, 2021, 5:21 Eastern Time, but times will vary according to your time zone. Well, we've still got some of the big players here. We've still got the Jupiter and Saturn, and we've got Mercury and Aquarius, but obviously so much of the energy has shifted from the Aquarian energy to the Pisces energy. And when we shift from the Aquarian energy to the Pisces energy, from the 11th house to the 12th house, this always signifies we're finishing up. We're finishing up cycles. We're finishing up cycles. And in fact, this is just a few days before the Aries Ingress, because then the sun's going to move into the Aries energy. And I am still offering those readings, by the way, if you're interested. But I've been looking at that Aries Ingress chart quite a bit because I've been doing the readings. And this is all setting up for that. But in the meantime, Pisces all the way across the board. And, if we look at it, we've got the sun and moon at 23 degrees of Pisces, and Neptune is conjoined, and Venus is conjoined. Venus is conjoined the sun in the Aries Ingress, so I've been really delving into that Venus energy. But when you combine Neptune, and Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, of course, with the energy of Venus, you get great spiritual healings, great spiritual creativity is off the charts. It's very much, it's the true creativity. I think I mentioned this in the last reading. There's times when you can try to force it, I know a lot of people that watch my videos are creative people. There's times when you can try to force it, or it can be really contrived and it's just not in the flow. This is being in the flow. This is downloading and channeling stuff directly from spirit. And with Venus, it could be very much connected to creativity. Also with Venus, we have that element of, well, it could be money too. With the Venus rules the second house of money. Venus rules money, wealth, and with Neptune, it could be connecting up with that. Finding that way to connect up with that abundance and wealth of whatever you're seeking, Maybe you'll have that $1 million idea, for some people. But for the most part, it's just really getting into that flow, that creativity. And creativity isn't necessarily the arts, as I always say. Creativity, you're creative in every aspect of your life. You're creating your reality. With the 12th house, you're learning from your mistakes, or you're learning you're in your wisdom. This is a state of being in your wisdom, of having that connection to your higher source and your wisdom. Everything that you've learned on your journey through the wheel, This is a time of culmination in that area. This is a time of, what have I learned? What wisdom have I gained? What experience have I gained? How do I go forth as we come to the Aries Ingress a week later or so? How do I go forth into the next chapter, into the next threshold? And what have I learned that I'm going to make the new beginning new? Because, there's the full card, and the full card in the tarot, and it's reverse. It's like, you could be people make new beginnings all the time, and it's just the same old, It's just like New Year's resolutions that everybody makes, around January 1st. Well, for many people, the Aries Ingress, the zero Aries, is the new beginning, is the new year. But this is a time of reflecting on our knowledge, reflecting on what we've learned, making the plans to cross the threshold into a new tomorrow. What will we bring along? How will we really do things different? What have we learned? What is the highest expression? Not being in our ego mind and being, what am I going to get? It's who have I become? What have I learned? What have I garnered from my journey? Reflecting on your journey. Reflecting on your journey over the past year. And for some of you, these can represent even larger cycles, If you've got some kind of big, maybe node in Pisces, or you've got some kind of big Pisces or even Aries placement, what have you garnered? What have you learned? What kind of higher wisdom have you gained? Are you in tune with? This is a time to getting in tune with our higher wisdom. This is a time for initiating. This is a time for initiating a spiritual practice too, for sure. That could absolutely be a thing. You know, if you wanted to take up some sort of a meditation or some sort of regular yoga or some kind of, I know yoga anymore isn't really a spiritual practice. I mean, they have beer yogas around where I live. I think that's just, I don't know. I guess I'm judging, but I think that's just way off the mark there with the beer yoga. But whatever. It's all about how you approach it and how anything could be a spiritual practice. Maybe, you know, I'm looking here. We've got the series with the Chiron and Aries join exactly at this time. Look at that. Just almost exact. Both at 7 degrees. You know, this is a food thing. You know, maybe a spiritual, you know, treating your body like a vessel, and you know, putting the food and eating and preparing food as a spiritual practice. Could be a lot of different things. Great insights can be gained, is what I'm getting here. Great insights can be gained by one and all. That's what I'm hearing. During this time, this is a great time to initiate some sort of spiritual routine or spiritual practice. Again, it doesn't have to be within the confines of what might be deemed spiritual by society at large. It's a spiritual practice for you. Maybe it's getting up every day and, you know, making a tea and just some sort of a spiritual practice that helps you to connect and get in that space of creation. The space of creation, yeah. The space of creation is not just creating art or music or what we as a society deem as creative, quote unquote. This is spiritual creation is creating your life, you know, and creating your life from a higher perspective. This is really the highest perspective. This is from working with and being in co-creation with your higher self, with your highest self, with your highest spiritual ideals and spiritual, you know, in its essence, you know. I mean, in its highest expression. We can't overlook that the Pisces energy can and does sometimes have, you know, a quality of delusion and illusions. You know, so seeing things not clearly. It's convoluted, you know, it can be convoluted. Neptune energy, which is the ruler of all the Pisces stuff here, and Neptune's in Pisces, again, is always not quite in the 3D reality. So in the fish swimming upward in its highest expression is all the things we just talked about. It's this, you know, transcending reality, connecting to higher spiritual dimensional things. But then there's also the fish swimming downward, and that's the escapism. That's lies and illusions. That's can be drugs, alcohol in excess, you know. So of course we don't want to begin that or initiate that. Always shoot for the highest, you know. Maybe you won't obtain it. Nobody's perfect. If you were perfect, you wouldn't be here, you know. You wouldn't be in a human body if you were perfect. So we're all shooting for it. We're all shooting for it, you know, striving for, you know, something higher, something, you know, living our best life, you know. And in order to live your best life, I feel like it's imperative that you must connect with these, you know, this higher self. And again, you don't have to say I'm a psychic or I'm a channel. You don't have to claim that, or, you know, that doesn't have to be a part of it in your conscious mind, but it could just be this moments of peace. The Pisces definitely is moments of peace and finding this inner peace and finding your inner balance. And that's when the flow comes. Even if you're not sitting there saying, oh, I'm getting a download, maybe you're just getting in a little aha moment or insight or an idea. You don't have to be deep in it, in the woo-woo, or call it by any of these names. Or just, you know, sit by a pond or some water or take a bath and you get in that zone. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Yeah, with the Ceres and the Chiron here, this is really coming in to give Chiron a big boost in Aries. And Ceres often represents its motherhood too. It's kind of like the Empress. When I did my Empress card, instead of, they always had the symbol of Venus on it. I put it in my rock and roll tarot deck. I included, maybe I could find it for you really quick. I included the symbol for Ceres because I feel like Ceres is a much better representation for the Empress than the traditional Venus card, because it's very much, if you're familiar with the tarot, it is very much the Empress energy. So the Empress energy is motherhood, family, nurturing, abundance, self-love, self-care. It's giving birth, it's motherhood, it's our own mother, it's us as mothers, it's what we give birth to, it's the light workers and the the people who are the nurturers. Here she is, finally found her, there she is. Yeah, so see on my rock and roll tarot deck, this is Venus, and I put the symbol for Ceres there. So Ceres embodies a lot of the Empress energy. With it being with the Chiron and in Aries, this is a big opportunity for people to really, especially many people want to blame their parents. I think what I find that in, honestly, more is people who've never had children are still hanging on to that deal. Well, we're gonna, our parents ruined us and we hate them, we don't talk, their parents, blame, blame, blame. And I think, but once you become a parent yourself, you realize that, parenting is a really tough gig, and you realize that it's difficult, and, that your parents were only human, and they made mistakes, and they weren't perfect and everything. But this is anybody dealing with because Aries and Mars could be this anger, this anger about your parents or things that happened to you through your parents or your mother in particular. I think it's always easy to blame the mother or hold anger towards the mother, because typically the mother gives unconditional love. She'll always forgive you. And in some sense it makes her an easy target even, It's easy because you know that she'll still love you, even if you treat her like shit or whatever, or blame your life on her or whatever. But this can be some real productive healing of that, because Chiron is always these deep wounds, these deep healings. And in the sign of Aries, I thought that it would be when Chiron moved into Aries, my vibe on it was that Aries would be really productive, that we could really get things done, and doing, instead of wallowing, like when Chiron was in Pisces, a lot of wallowing. Okay, taking initiative. What are we going to do about these wounds? What are we going to do to fix it? Fix ourselves with the Aries energy. And instead, what I've seen is, I think, a lot of resurgence of anger. So, and a lot of it is directed towards our parents and our upbringing and things like that. So this is more of I feel like the Ceres energy combined with the Chiron and working with the two energies together, that this could lead to a more positive resolution of these things. Because being angry isn't healing. I don't feel like that's healing. I mean, anger has its place, and it's got to be brought up, and it's got to be purged. But anger is not healing. Anger is in that blame, being in the blame zone, blaming, blaming, blaming. And by doing these ancestral healing stuff, which I've been getting into a lot lately too, just because through my channelings that I've come to realize that it's in our physical body. Not only do we manifest, I always knew that we manifest things, physical ailments and such through past lives, but that those hang around with us. I remember reading some book years ago, maybe back in the 80s, and they give a whole bunch of examples of this, and one sticks out in my head every time, that some girl, I believe the story was this person, maybe it was a girl, let's just say it was a girl, she was on her way to being, this amazing Olympic diver or something, and then one day a plane or something came over and cast a shadow in the water, and she flipped out, and she couldn't dive, and she, was scared and couldn't, what happened to my screen here, she couldn't do it anymore, and through past life regression found out that she was killed by an alligator, and just as she was ready to dive in the water, she saw the shadow of the alligator under the water, and then, you know, she got gobbled up. And then once she knew that, she was no longer afraid of, you know, she went on to do her diving career or whatever. You know, she wasn't afraid of diving anymore. So that always stuck with me, you know. And so there's a lot. And another one was, they say you often will have scars where you were fatally wounded in a prior life. And one of my daughters, when she was born, had a strawberry mark, perfectly round strawberry mark on her temple. It's since faded away and went away, but I always saw, and I saw that, I go, man, that could be like perfect, a bullet wound, you know. Like maybe she was shot in the head and, you know, that was her last incarnation. So, you know, I've always been aware of that, you know, that, yeah, your past lives, and you carry these fears from your past life along with you, and, you know, different, and that goes for many light workers too, as the fact of not wanting to come out as a light worker because maybe you were burned or, you know, drowned with rocks, or all the different things that they did to torture so-called witches, you know. So there's these fears from past life experiences from our soul journey are hanging around with us, yes. But what's been, you know, been really coming through lately is about this healing the ancestral karma. And you're born into these physical bodies, and you know, the first house is your physical body. You know, Aries is the first house, it's your physical body. It's also your head too, but it definitely is your first physical body. You know, we're born into these physical bodies, and these physical bodies have these ancestral DNA wounds that is carried on through generation and generation. And even if it wasn't anything that happened in your household necessarily, you know, it could be, you know, it could be that, you know, parents lay this guilt trips or different, you know, belief systems on us, and there's that aspect of it. But this is within the physical tissue. This is the physical body, the tissue of the physical body, that in our DNA, that when you incarnate in the physical body, it's carrying this stuff, you know. So this is a great time to heal that, and through taking it back to the Empress card. She's probably gone from the type. Yeah, I probably put her back in the. Well, there she is. You know, the Empress card. She's in abundance. She is the epitome of self-love. She's not scurrying around trying to make somebody love her or find money, or she's not in scarcity in the least. She's in abundance. She knows that she is worthy. She knows, you know, that she deserves comfort, you know, love, whatever it might be. You know, she's not chasing after anything. She's accepting. She's loving. She's, you know, present. She's in the present moment. So this can really bring a lot of this stuff in a positive healing way. Instead of, you know, my mother was a bitch or a witch and I'll never talk to her again. Or, you know, these, you know, again, when you become a parent yourself, a lot of that stuff goes right out the window. Because you realize, again, parenting is a very tough gig. It's not for the faint of heart at all. We still have this stuff going on over here, but they're kind of spread out here. They're not really, you know, conjuncting. We've got Saturn at 9 degrees. I'm on my Saturn return like this week. My natal Saturn's 9. I know I keep bringing this up, but it's like it's on my mind. I'm having my Saturn return like now. My second Saturn return. My natal Saturn's 9 degrees of Aquarius, so it's on, baby. But Jupiter has moved on. It's about 10 degrees out, and then we've got another, you know, Mercury wide orb conjunction. The Aquarius energy is very much present, you know, but these are the slower moving planets, of course, and this is where the action is. This is where the energy is. It's in the Pisces. So maybe if you're trying to heal these ancestral wounds, maybe you can get some big insights about things, you know. Maybe instead of remembering the one thing that your mother did wrong, you could remember the millions of things that she did right. The millions of times that I think we just take that for granted and we just push that aside and just remember that one time that you hurt my feelings and you made a mistake and you were this or that, you know. Maybe we can allow higher love coming through, higher love and understanding too, and just understanding that our ancestral people were doing the best they could, and they were only human. And this is a wide aspect square to the nodes, but the Venus is squaring the nodes too. I think the Venus and Neptune, really the Venus is the closest one we've got squaring this nodal energy. So aligning with our higher purpose, aligning, getting things straight in our mind. Because it's, we can be all in spirit, but the translation from spirit to mind, often things get lost in translation. Or they're, maybe they're not even getting lost, but they're indescribable. Many times I'll come upon visions and different things, and I really have trouble putting it into words, because there's nothing comparable in our 3D reality that, there's nothing comparable. So you kind of try to make some sort of comparison or try to describe it. This could be like that kind of thing where you could really lock in and be able to describe it, but also some of your emotional things. Maybe you can wrap your head around some of these emotional things. Maybe you can wrap your head around these emotional things and the truth of the matter. Because maybe some of these angry things or hurt feelings that you might be blaming on your parents or blaming on your partner or blaming on whoever, maybe you can see where the real origin of this is coming from. Because that happens so many times for all of us too. We're so used to, well, it's all my mother's fault, or it's all, it was my ex. It was my ex. He was an asshole, We're always going to blame our mothers or our exes or whoever. Maybe we can really get to the truth of it, the truth of the matter. Because blaming and putting it out there is not helping you in healing in any way. That's just a deterrent or putting it off till later. Well, it's all their fault. It's all their fault. There was something I saw, I think it was, it was an interview. I'd like to credit the guy who I saw it, who it was, I can't think of his name. I keep wanting to say Joe Dispenza, but that is not the guy. But it is somebody from the Secret, and I think his name is Joe also. But anyways, the point of the matter is, this hit me like a ton of bricks. He was talking about money, and he was talking about which is something I stumbled on a little while ago, how I hated paying my bills. I made a video about it. And I hate paying my bills just because I hate doing bookkeeping type of math. I hate doing all the adding. It's not that I don't want to pay my bills. But I realized then, I'm hating paying my bills, so I'm deferring this anger to something else, I got to pay those bills, and therefore blocking my money. But he was saying, if you have a resentment about anything, and I have some resentment about a couple things bad, about this bank that I dealt with a while back, and they're trying to sue me or whatever. It's not, they're not suing me, they've put some liens against me, and I have a ton of resentment against them. I mean, to the point where it's just like, but he was saying, if you have this resentment against them, then you're blocking yourself from getting the money to alleviate it. So, and I have major resentment against this bank, I bring, anytime it's, I actually, to the point where, I'm embarrassed to say this, but it's true, when I drive past one of their branch outlets, I get so enraged, and I even will flip them the bird and say, F you, blah, 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 the name of the bank. It's so, and is that, when he said that, it was just like ding, ding, ding. I go, is that serving me? So I've been stuck in this mess with them for a couple of years now, and all this anger and resentment towards them is blocking me from, getting the money or whatever, getting rid of the resentment. Because resentment is powerful energy, It's Mars energy. It's powerful energy. And as long as you're projecting it out to somebody else, Because I would say, well, I can't move because that bank has, got a lien on me and blah, 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 get all angry and upset about it. So, therefore, me being angry at them isn't hurt. It's the cutting my nose off to spite my face. That's not helping me with what I want to do, is when I want to move. That's just, it's futile. It's just futile. And the same would be towards your ex-partners. The same would be towards your parents. Anybody that you're like still angry about. Well, I can't because my mother screwed me up, or I can't because my ex screwed me over. Well, then you can't. Then, you're just reinforcing that same energy. And I found that too, which with taxes. I hate paying taxes. I hate paying taxes because I see there's a lot of, in the area I live, pretty much a lot of people are on government assistance. And a lot of it is really fraud, total fraud. they work inside jobs, all of them. They know how to do the scam and play the game, and I just get infuriated. It's just like, here I am working to pay taxes, to pay for your life. I start going down that road, and I start getting really, really angry and infuriated about it. And that was that same thing with that guy said that thing. If you're angry about, then you're not going to get the money together to pay it. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. But it could just apply to all sorts of things. If you're angry at your parents, well, then you can just stay stuck forever. Basically, that's what it boils down to. If you're angry, if you're going to say this person or that thing is holding me back, then you're just going to be stuck forever. That's not doing you any good toward getting what you want, where you want to be. You have to go within yourself and really find these answers and really get clear about your soul intention. I mean, you didn't come here to incarnate. You didn't come to Earth to incarnate about to get pissed at people and let that hold you back. And a lot of times, I think it's maybe some fear. There's always some other thing going on here. I'll go back to my house situation for a minute. I mean, I think this is my ancestral home. 5 generations of my family lived here. And the neighborhood's gone to complete shit. But I still think that I maybe, on some level, and going back to this ancestral thing, that I still have this connection to this house because it's been in my family for so many generations. Even though I'm constantly bitching that I want to move, I want to move, and blah, 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 blah. If you really get down to the real, what's really holding me back? Is that bank really holding me back? Or, am I just using that as an excuse to stay here? Is your mother really, did she screw you up that bad? Or are you just using that as an excuse to not really venture out and live your best life and live life to the fullest? Did your ex really screw you over so bad? Or are you just using that as an excuse not to try to get into another relationship and try again and work on yourself and take, fess up to, cop to your part in it because you played a part in it. I know it's kind of different with parents because you were a child and you didn't have any power, but with relationships, I mean, so many people are grappling with that stuff, So many people. Well, I can't, or if you're hanging on to your ex and, I don't encounter that anymore, but when I used to work on those psychic lines, boy, did I encounter that. Every single call would be that. When is he coming back? And I'd be like, well, when's the last time you heard from him? 3 years ago. I'm saying, well, it looks like he's got another relationship. Yeah, he's married to somebody else. But all the psychics are telling me he's coming back. That's so unhealthy and so effed up, man. So that what's really happening is you were hurt and you are afraid to go into another relationship. And you're holding out, you're using this, he's coming back. Even though he's married with somebody else and it's been 3 years, And I'm not trying to be an asshole and call you out and say you're stupid or anything. I'm saying we all do it. I just told you, I just confessed to thousands of people that what I do, how I've been holding my realizations about how, I've been blaming that bank for a couple of years, and really, it's, well, it's inevitable. I'm going to have to deal with them, number one. They're not going away. And number two, maybe I do have some part of me is not ready to let go of this house, And I've lived here 25 years. I've lived here a long time. So when you make these realizations, it's not like I don't feel like it makes you feel foolish. Like some of you would say, oh, well, this is this Aries ego, I know everything. I know it was their fault, and that's my stance, and I'm sticking to it. That's my story, I'm sticking to it. It's more like it's freeing. It's just like, oh, well, maybe I do. And what I've been doing, too, I've been trying to get a lawyer to deal with this bank, but also I've been, doing some prayer work and calling out to my ancestors to, help me release it. Because I realized that, there's a part of me that feels really attached to this place. And when I was growing up, this was my grandma's house, And I came, you come to your grandma's house and it's just full of love and, it was one of the happiest places to be, and so I'm still clinging to that in some form or fashion. If you really go in there and look, you're going to find your answers. Maybe I think a lot of people are afraid of it, but you don't have to be afraid of it. You don't have to be afraid of that truth. The truth shall set you free. Yeah, thank you, guides. Big one there. The truth shall set you free. Yeah. So this is a time to go in and find these deep answers, to find these. And even if it's not anything, like you're like, well, I don't know how to meditate, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Do the dream work. Neptune, Pisces energy, ask for your answers in your dreams. And you may get visitations in your dreams through, ancestors or exes or whatever, parents. You may get a direct answer, or many times you'll just wake up and you'll know, you'll just have this feeling like, oh, I know what I need to do now. I get it now. It might not be some big, profound, showy thing with a bunch of flashes and lights. It may just, you wake up one morning and you're just like, oh, I get it now. I know what to do. You feel at peace with it. Because as long as you're fighting and blaming the bank or blaming your ex or blaming your mother or blaming whoever, you're not at peace. You can't be at peace, The highest expression of the Piscean energy is being at peace. And another thing that came through on the channeling information, which I brought up recently, they said another term for light workers is the keepers of the peace. That's another term for what light workers could be called. We are meant to be the keepers of the peace. And I believe, most of the people watching this would be in that category, You're probably a light worker or have some interest in metaphysics, no matter where you're at on your path. You're meant to be a keeper of the peace. Light worker, that work. The work should be taken out of it. It should be flow, keeper of the peace. All right, speaking about the Aries energy here, we're coming up for that Aries Ingress, and here we go. This is a new year. This is a new time astrology-wise, and in many cultures. I am offering the Aries Ingress reading like I do every year for a limited time, so you can absolutely find out about that. It is an astrology-based reading, by the way. Too many of you ask, well, would you ever do astrology readings only at these Ingress times? I put out a bi-wheel with your natal chart and then the Ingress around it, and we dive in. And there's plenty going on at this year. And what's going to be happening, one of the biggest things is Venus will be conjunct the Aries Ingress. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. The moon is up here with the node. I mean, I know that chart by heart practically by now because I've been looking at it so much. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm doing this Aries Ingress painting, and talk about healing and cool stuff. This is another thing I've been really getting into with the painting for healing, and it's purging, and then it's creating your life through the painting, and it's so cool. I mean, the whole process is so cool, and I've just gotten so much out of it. I've been doing a lot of it lately. So I put together a class it's an 8-part class of the Aries Ingress. I actually have the painting right here if you want to take a look at the final painting. So you'll end up with something like this, or maybe different, but this is the one that I completed for the class. Da 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 ba da ba ba da 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 da. Yeah, so this is the final painting that I ended up with. It's not so strict that you have to follow me exactly, but if you've never painted before, you absolutely can follow me exactly. And it's not even about what the finished artwork is going to look like. It's about the process of it. And talk about the Pisces energy. When you're just painting, like a lot of it's just like putting dots and lines while you're thinking about these different, healing things that we're working on through the painting and what we want to manifest. A lot of it's what we want to manifest, because Aries Ingress is a powerful time to manifest new realities. You create your life. But while you're just like doing these, it's a form of meditation. It really is. It can really free your mind up. It's really a cool process. So you don't have to know how to paint. I take you through step by step. And again, it's not about making a masterpiece in the end. It's about getting clear on first purging a lot of stuff, because we do some layers with Chiron, and then we do some layer. Then we move into the Mars and Aries energy, and and then the final outcome, the final layer, And each layer is like a layer of paint, but it's also a layer of consciousness. I mean, it's really cool, fun stuff. So if you think that might interest you, then, you know, that'll be available for, you know, also for a limited time. You can find all that information down below. Yeah, but new moon in Pisces, you know, let down your guard, let down your shields, let down your guard, let that energy flow. And the truths that are revealed. And the other thing about it, you know, with it being 12th house Pisces energy, the truths that are revealed, you know, you don't have to go on YouTube and tell everybody about it like I just did, you know. These are for you. This is for your own personal healing or your own personal connection. You don't have to like publicly, you know, it's inner work. Pisces is inner work, big time. But it's such a powerful time to really get into this healing and this vibration and opening up to what's really going on. Anything that you've been stuck with for a long time. And a lot of times it is these, you know, well, my parents, if only my parents did this, then I'd be, well, my parents didn't do this, so that's why I'm not where I want to be. Or, you know, my ex, is he coming back? Or he screwed me up and you know, he took all my money and now this and that. That's not helping you. It's just not helping you. And the sooner you realize that, are you really ready to get on with your life? Then you got to get rid of the excuses. Anything that you're saying in the other, anything that you're projecting out to the other, whether it's the ex or, you know, the parent or the bank or whoever, or the taxes or whatever it might be, it's only blocking yourself. You know, it's only blocking yourself. All right, everybody. So thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great new moon in Pisces. Remember, you are love and beauty incarnate. If you want to check out that reading or the painting class, it'll be in the description below. Thanks again. Have a great one.